I posted some questions to all of you to think about. What those questions were is, how much free will do we really have? Our actions, our thoughts, our words, are we really free to speak and do and think as we think we are in control of? Or are we just puppets, doing, thinking, and speaking with no control whatsoever on our actions? So the next 9 shlokas, which Bhagwan is giving to us, will give us a deeper insight into how we speak, why we speak, what we do, how we do, and what we do. So let's go directly to shlok number 20. I'll chant it first. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavamavyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajnanam viddhi satvikam. That by which man perceives one imperishable divine existence as undivided and equally present in all individual beings, know that knowledge to be sattvic. A little recap, I think, of 2 verses previous to this one will help us in better understanding this particular shloka and the 3 shlokas which I plan to do today. In shlok 18, Bhagwan introduced us to the 2 triputis. If you remember, 2 triads, Gyan Triputi and Karma Triputi. Gyan Triputi is the triad of knowledge, 3 factors that affect knowledge, and Karma Triputi are the 3 factors which affect action. Each of these triputis have got 3 factors. Gyan Triputi is Gyanam, knowledge, Gyayam, object of knowledge, and Gyata, the knower. Karma Triputi's 3 factors are Karma, the action, Karanam, the instruments of action, and Karta, the doer of the action. So this was in Shlok 18. You will definitely recall this. Now in Shlok 19, what Bhagwan did is he took these 6 factors which he introduced in Shlok 18 and condensed them into 3 factors, namely Jnanam, knowledge, Karma, action, and Karta, doer. So now we are dealing with these 3 factors. The other 3 factors join up with these 3 factors, and we have to now deal with 3 of these. So knowledge, action, and doer. Now, each of these, Bhagwan tells us, can be of 3 kinds. So there are 3 kinds of knowledge, 3 kinds of action, and 3 kinds of doer. These 3 are different according to their predominant guna. That also we discussed last time. Gunas are sattva, rajas, tamas. So you have sattvic knowledge, rajasic knowledge, tamasic knowledge, and similarly action and doer. So today's 3 shlokas are dealing only with the 3 kinds of knowledge. Now, when we talk of knowledge, what we understand, what this word connotes to us is information, data that we gather on certain objects, on certain topics, on subjects, from books, from learning from in school, college, or wherever, some source of knowledge that we consider to be knowledge. How much I know about something. However, in this context, knowledge means all the impressions that I have acquired from all our past lives, and they are stored in my subconscious. So these impressions, these are called sanskars, these impressions are etched in our subconscious mind based on all the experiences I have had with different situations, objects, people, events, etc. Now, these impressions are stored in our subconscious mind, and there are so many sanskars, I believe, in each person's antakaran that they can be responsible for countless births in sansar. So these sanskars are very important because they will determine how many times you have to keep taking birth and delaying your possibility of liberation. So now these sanskars are important and we need to know how they work and why are they so important in our spiritual journey. Now we have Gyan Indriyas, sense organs. They are looking out into the world and bringing to us different stimuli. So you see something, you see a pen. Now this pen is a stimulus for my antakaran. Seeing this stimulus, previous sanskars based on my experience with this pen will arise. These sanskars will arise. And they are like ripples. They are like ripples. So they arise like emotions or thoughts or desires, and they come from my subconscious mind into my conscious mind. Okay? Very similar to ripples or waves on a sea, let's say. They are on the surface. And deep down, so these ripples have come to the surface of my conscious mind, but deep down, the depth of the knowledge from where they have arisen is very low and very deep in my subconscious mind. So now these ripples have come to my conscious mind and they are going to dictate how I think. Based on how I think, I will speak or I will do an action. So all my words, all my actions, all my thoughts are basically what? They are basically reactions to my stimuli based on the sanskars which I am holding. Now, the quality of my thought, the quality of my word, the quality of my action will depend entirely on the quality of the sanskar. Quality of sanskar means the guna, predominant guna of my sanskar. If my sanskar for a particular object or predominantly, not of a particular object, but predominantly, if my sanskars are sattvic, then my vision of myself will be sattvic. My vision of the world will be sattvic. And my vision of God also will be sattvic. But if all my sanskars are predominantly rajasic or tamasic, then my self-view, my world view, and my God view will be accordingly rajasic or tamasic. So today, this shlok, number 20, which we just read, is dealing with sattvic knowledge, meaning sattvic sanskars, or predominantly my sanskars, my impressions are basically sattvic. So what does it mean to have sattvic knowledge or sattvic sanskars? If there is sattvic sanskars, then we will have firm nishtha. We will have no doubt whatsoever that in all beings in the universe, there is one divine existence that is the substratum of every single object being in the world. And this sattvic sanskar or sattvic knowledge will help me to see beyond the names and the forms of objects, naam and roop. And it will allow me to go into that realm where I understand asti, bhati, priya, existence, knowledge, and bliss. So I see the names and forms, but I see the reality beyond the name and form. Like, for example, you can say a goldsmith. When a goldsmith sees bangles or necklaces or earrings or rings, he sees it mainly as gold. So to be able to see gold as the substratum of all ornaments, similarly, sattvic knowledge gives us the nishtha that there is an imperishable, changeless reality beyond names and forms in all beings in the universe. So, how can we recognize sattvic knowledge? How can we know whether our knowledge is sattvic or not? So, it will give us the ability, bhavam. The word in the shloka is bhavam. It will give us the ability to recognize this truth. And we will understand that this truth, which is the basis, the support, the adhishtan of all beings, is self-effulgent. It reveals itself. It needs no other to reveal itself. It is the substratum of everything. Then a word is there, avyayam. That means we have the firm nishtha that this substratum, this self, this absolute being is changeless. It's immutable. And the body may go through all kinds of modifications, all kinds of vikars. But this truth, which is our true identity, is free from all modifications. We have 6 vikars, right? So it's free of all 6 vikars of birth, growth, etc., death, decay, everything. Then avibhaktam means this truth or this essence or this absolute entity is undivided, and it is equally present in all individual beings. And ekam, we are able to see one without a second. For example, there may be many pots, but the space inside the pots, the space inside the many pots is one and the same, right? There may be many pots, and the space may seem to be divided between the different pots. But sattvic knowledge will enable you to see that the space in all the different pots is one and the same. Or electricity is the same in different bulbs, in different electrical instruments. Or there are many waves in the ocean, but within all these separately or seemingly separate waves, there is only one ocean. This ability to recognize this as a firm understanding is sattvic knowledge. And therefore, in every individual body, you are able to see the Atma that is one and the same in each and every person. It is not an intellectual understanding. It is a firm nishtha. There is only one Atma that is enlivening all the beings. And it is expressing itself through different manifestations. So if you can understand and firmly believe this truth, that means your sanskars, your knowledge is considered to be sattvic. Okay. Now, if you go back to Shlok 7 of Adhyay 7, Bhagwan says very nicely, gives an example. He says, like, different beads are there. They seem to be individual beads, but they're all strung together on one thread. So that one thread is that one truth. And it just appears, makes the beads look like separate beings, but they're all together threaded on one thread. Now, how can we make our antakaran or our buddhi so have so much nishtha that when we see individuals, we actually see beyond the name and form? And that brings us again, once again, to the same updesh that chitta shuddhikaran is required. purification of the mind is required to be able to transfer this intellectual knowledge or intellectual understanding into sattvic sanskar or sattvic knowledge. Okay, so once our chitta is shuddhi, our antakaran becomes pure, that means it becomes fully sattvic, right? So when it becomes pure and sattvic, your sanskars have become sattvic, understand? And uh, when that stage happens, the self, this truth, just automatically reveals itself as a paroksh anubhuti. And then cycle of life and death is over once and for all. So this shloka says, Taj jnanam vidhi satvikam. Such a knowledge is considered to be sattvic. Now you have to evaluate yourself. Do you have that nishtha when you interact with people, when you speak? Are you seeing the truth, the reality beyond the name and form, or are you still interacting with names and forms? So that takes us to Shlok 21. Let's see what Bhagwan has to say about Rajasic knowledge. Prithak tvena tu yajnanam nana bhavan prithak vidhan vetti sarveshu bhuteshu tajnanam vidhi rajasam. The knowledge by which man cognizes many existences of various kinds as apart from one another in all beings, know that knowledge to be rajasic. So sattvic knowledge, you are seeing the indivisible one in all beings, right? Rajasic knowledge means you are seeing plurality. You're seeing differences in everyone. You're seeing differences in everything. So we saw the lakshans of sattvic knowledge. So let us see the lakshans of rajasic knowledge. Two things predominantly will dictate that your knowledges or your sanskars are rajasic. Prithak twain means we see each one separate from another. We are limited in our vision because there is a form of each individual. We see the form and say, this form is different, separate from another form. So this person is separate, this person is separate. And there we get a split. This Rajasic knowledge is creating a split in our awareness. So I becomes separate from you, I become separate from he, I become separate from she. Now there are many eyes, there are many people. We see them as separate. We see each other separate from each other. Prithaktvena. And because there are so many, our mind is now becoming restless. It has to go from I to you, to he, to she. Movement. Rajas means movement, activity. Now, not only are we separate, we could be separate and same. But no, Rajasic knowledge says we are separate and each one is different also from each other. Okay. Prithak Vidhan, different. We are of various kinds, different kinds. This Nam and Roop is different from this Nam and Roop, different from this Nam and Roop. Of course, it is. It is different. But the Nam and Roop only is different, not the essence, which is our true reality. So these are the two lakshans of Rajasic knowledge or Rajasic sanskar. We are separate and we are different from each other. Now, what are the effects of having this Rajasic knowledge? Why should we bother with becoming sattvic? And this is good enough. I see me as separate, you as separate. I see me different, you different. Lot of danger is there actually for a spiritual seeker. How come? See, when we see things as different from each other, That means we see many different things. And when the mind sees many different things, the mind wants to experience all these different things, right or wrong. You want to go and experience different restaurants, you want to experience different countries, you want to experience different clothes, you want to experience different people. Just think about it. When you go to the Swiggy menu, so many different dishes. Don't you want to experience each one of them? Right? So this is where mind has now become chanchal. The mind is now moving from one to the other, to the other, to the other. And every stimulus that is presented excites the Rajasic knowledge, excites the Rajasic, because the ripples will start coming up, right? Ripples will start coming up as thoughts, as emotions, as desires. And more desires awaken because of this Rajasic sanskar or Rajasic knowledge. Now you are yearning for this object, you're yearning for that object, you're yearning for all these things. Some of these objects you will like, and they will cause attachment. Some of these objects you may not like. The sanskars will say, no, 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 this is not good. So you will have aversion. Whether it is aversion or attachment, you are still going to be moving to or moving from. Movement, rajas, not stillness, not steadiness, right? Difficult, no, for a spiritual seeker who needs to make his mind still and steady. Now, the one that he likes the most, he will want more and more and more of that. Greed comes in, greed. So more means rajas. Whenever there is you wanting something more that what you already have and you want more of that, then this is immediately a sign of rajas. So what is making us choose certain things? This rag, this dvesh, this ability to not overcome that emotion, that desire, which is rising within us based on our previous experience of that object. All right. So all the knowledge collected from so many past lives, even before you were born in this Naam and Roop, all that is affecting your thoughts, your words, your actions. How free are you? Good thought to think about, right? And the more this goes on and on, Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, Mad, Matsarya, all the 6 enemies are now ready to attack. They're all coming into play. And that brings about the ladder of downfall or patan. So one example, when I had taught this shloka many years ago, it reminded me of our trip to Kailash Mansarovar, and some of you were with me on that yatra. When we were driving down and we would see the mountains in the distance, so we would see mostly the peaks of the mountains, right? And every peak seemed to be separate, and every peak seemed to be different because we were seeing it at a distance. But when we drove more closer to that range, we saw that below, all of them were joined together. The peaks were only different, seeing them at a distance. And when we came closer, we saw that at the base, they were all simply one. Similarly, Rajasic knowledge or Rajasic sanskars, they create a superficial level of seeing people only in name and form. And it makes us all look separate. But when we go closer, that means when we inquire, we go closer, we introspect, we see that actually beyond the name and form, we are only one. And that is the difference, main difference between sattvic knowledge and sattvic and rajasic knowledge. Sattvic sanskars will make you see the base where everything is one. And Rajasic knowledge will keep you in the superficial peaks of names and forms and make you feel each one is separate and each one is different. And now we get attached, and that attachment brings us again and again into cycle of life and death. So we've seen sanskars which are sattvic. We have seen sanskars which are rajasic. Now Bhagwan goes to Shlok 22, where he talks of tamasic knowledge. Let's see. Yattu kritsnavade kasmin karye sakta mahetukam atatvartha vadalpam cha tattama samudaritam. Again, that knowledge which clings to one body as if it were the whole and which is irrational, has no real grasp of truth, is trivial. That kind of knowledge has been declared as tamasic. So, sattvic knowledge, nishtha, oneness underlying everything in the universe. Rajasic knowledge, seeing differences, plurality, separateness in everything in the universe. Both of them are seeing many things, right? Sattvic is bringing many things into one. Rajasic is seeing only the many things. Tamasic knowledge has a very narrow vision, very narrow-minded, and it is limited only to the one. Clings to the one body, is limited only to one's ego. Everything, his vision of the self, vision of the world, vision of God is based on only himself, ego. These persons are obsessed with their own BMI, body, mind, intellect. No, they don't care about anything else. And certainly they have no notion about Atma. Atma? Not interested. Their focus is on the material world and how they can be the focus of that entire material world. Charvak philosophy is very much based on this kind of sanskar. So let us go into the lakshans of tamasic knowledge. Bhagwan says tamasic knowledge makes you cling to one body, one belief, and it excludes everything else. It obstinately clings to whatever that person wants to think and is not concerned with anything else. Okay? So very narrow-minded and very obstinate. Then ahetukam, irrational. Okay, you may have nishtha based on the Vedas, you may have nishtha based on the absolute truth, that's fine. But this is irrational. You cannot argue, you cannot debate with this person. No amount of reasoning will make them shift from their obstinate belief. They are stuck there because tamas is inertia. It will not allow you to move. So you are stuck in that notion of whatever you think you are. You are the center of the universe and that's all. Atatvartha, no real grasp of truth. See, this philosophy that they may have, it is not based on any shastra. They are not even interested in reading the shastras. If you say, according to Upanishads, this is not correct, they will say, I will write my Upanishad. Like that. They're obstinate. They refuse to see or even imagine that there can be any other truth beyond what they want to believe. And finally, Bhagwan says they are trivial, they are petty, alpam. Alpam. They are fanatic. They don't believe that divinity exists at all. They don't believe in the Vedas, they don't believe in Brahma, they don't believe in everything. There is no eternal tattva, divinity at all. They don't believe in that. This is the body and this is the eternal thing. No divine ideal to back up or to support their belief system. Such knowledge, Bhagwan says, is what is known as tamasic knowledge. You can see it goes through the entire range of belief systems. Now, the point is, it's all okay to understand what is sattvic knowledge, rajasic knowledge, tamasic knowledge. But as a spiritual seeker, obviously, we want our knowledge to be sattvic, because that is what will take us to our final goal, chitta shuddhikaran. But if my sanskars in my subconscious mind are rajasic or they are tamasic, how do I go inside and clean them out and make them sattvic? Very difficult. That is the whole spiritual journey. That is the meaning of spiritual journey. How to go deep within yourself and clean yourself out. Some spring cleaning is required, because I need to move from seeing myself as a whole universe and nothing more, this body as nothing more than this body, there is nothing else in the universe, to seeing divinity in everything. So I'm just offering some suggestions. Now it's up to you to be able to do that or not, I don't know, but I offer some suggestions. If you recognize yourself as having tamasic knowledge, if that tamas is predominant in you, then what will be happening is the person will be fanatically holding on to his belief system. This belief system will be focused on his own body, on the material world. And such a person is in inertia, ignorance. He cannot find the free will or the motivation or the inspiration to drag himself out from that gutter of tamas. He cannot do it by himself. What will happen? How will this person ever come out? I think only divine grace can lead such a person to a satsang, to a sadguru, where it is possible, maybe, that also I say maybe, he, in a moment of his tamasic weakness, he may become aware that there are possibly other beliefs that can exist. So for a tamasic person, don't argue, don't try to pull that person out, send him to a satsang, or pray that some divine grace will lead him eventually to some satsang where maybe something will come into his mind. Now, what will happen with that is up to him. Now, here is where the free will comes in. My first question was, do you have free will? Your free will come when, if you are tamasic and someone offers you this opportunity to go to a satsang, your free will choose to go to the satsang. Yeah. But he will have to work very hard to overcome many vikalps, saying, what satsang, why satsang, I'd rather not go, I'd rather go to a movie, I'd rather stay home and just sleep. So if he can exercise his free will to overcome these tamasic tendencies, which are there in each and every one of us, let me tell you that. We would rather sit at home and watch something on Zoom than actually go to a satsang and benefit by the presence of sattvic energy. So grace is there. You exercise your free will, you will have a possibility of rising up or allowing your sanskars to move out of tamas. Okay, what if rajasic knowledge is predominant? Now, what you're doing is, in the beginning, you're seeing everyone as separate. Then you're seeing everyone as different name, different form, height, weight, color, gender, nationality. In the beginning, everything is different for everyone, right? Now, what you have to do, if you're seeing people like this, is try to find one common factor in all these differences. So let's say we are on Zoom And we are all of different names and different forms, and we are seeing each other as different. You can see the thing on top. So many different names are there, but each one is in their own little box, right? So let's say the one common factor in all of us is maybe we are all Indian. So in so many different separateness and so many different differences, we are finding one common factor. What is that common factor? We are all Indian. So we have found one thread that unites all of us. Okay, you can see where this is going. Now you'll say, okay, we are all Indian, but we are not American. We are not British. We are not French. We are not Australian. We are not Singaporean. We are not etc., etc., etc. Right? So the thread is there, but it's not including anyone except Indian. So from there, you have to use your energy, your ability of Vivek to see, okay, we may not all be Indian, but at least we are all human. So you have got now one line saying we are all Indian, and that line has become a little thicker, let's say, because we are all human. There's more, something more that is common in all of us. We are all human. We may be living, having different nationalities, but at least we are all human. But then someone will say, well, what about other creatures, animals, plants, fish, birds, etc.? What about these creatures? We are not them. We are separate from them. Need to expand your vision a little bit. Okay, we may be human, but we are living beings and so are they. So we include plants and animals and birds and fish and say we bring our commonality. We bring our this thread which is linking all these different people. We are thickening that. We are making that more pakka. So we are all living beings endowed with life. So there's more common. See all those peaks. We are now moving towards the base of the mountain. The peaks are not looking so separate. We are all living beings. We have something in common. But then what about inert objects? What about pen? What about glass? What about phone? What about charger? What about all these things? We are not that. We are separate from that. Yeah, they are inert. They are not living beings, but yet they exist, right? Just as living beings exist, inert objects also exist. So there is something that is common between living beings and non-living beings, and that is existence. We have come now to Sat, existence. We all exist. And once we see that we all exist, some have more living potential, some have less living potential, some have more knowledge, some have less knowledge, some are Jad, some are Chaitan, but we all exist. We all exist, and we all have something that is worthy, lovable, valuable in us. So we have now come to a broad base. Everything in the universe exists in some form or the other. And if we are able to bring our thought process to this level, then automatically, spontaneously, a question should arise. And that is, if everything is existing, what is the support for all these individual things to exist? What is the substratum on which all existence sits, exists? And finally, we will come to that sattvic realization. From rajas to sattva, we will see that substratum, that one imperishable, immutable, oneness, undivided, equally present in all beings. Atma, self, absolute being, Brahma, Paramatma, whatever you want to call that. And now, when you reach that stage of understanding, you have successfully, effectively transformed tamasic knowledge, tamasic sanskars into sattvic knowledge or sattvic sanskars. What is the benefit? The benefit is that when you are purely sattvic, aparoksh anubhuti happens spontaneously. The self reveals itself spontaneously because it is self-effulgent. You just have to create the conditions for the Atma to reveal itself. Can you do that? Can you transform your sanskars? Of course, you will need help. That means you will need to give your antakaran sattvic inputs. You want to become sattvic, you have to give yourself sattvic inputs. Sattvic inputs to your 5 Gyan Indriya and sattvic output of your 5 Karma Indriya. If you can do that, you can transform yourself into that, what you are seeking. Okay, try it out. Next week, I will talk about the second of the 3 elements, Gyan, Karm, and Karta. Okay, today it was Gyan. Okay, try it out. Oh. 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 Asato ma satgamaya ta asato ma satgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityurma amritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Chidarpana. Jai Gurudev. Thank you everyone for joining.